this is a way in which the future doesn't need to look like the past, with discoveries happening outside Uganda, outside of East Africa, or outside of Africa. They can happen here with all of you. The discoveries of math, relying all of computer science. So we had, I'll read these until we get the power back up. So in the early 20th century, we had a guy by the name of John von Neumann. Is anybody familiar with this? He's instrumental in computer science, and he discovers this concept of game theory, and this is what powered early computer architecture. And then we have probability theory from this region in the mid 20th century. And then the discovery in the late 20th century of John Nash. Anybody here of John Nash? He's got a movie made about him called The Beautiful Mind. Probably the only mathematician that had a movie made about him. Beautiful Mind, and that he created some of the underlying forces around artificial intelligence. The point is that this has been a trajectory for discoveries of math that can happen anywhere, and it can happen here as well as any place else. And so in 2011, what we're going to talk about, some of the more recent discoveries, is in 2011, Professor Spivak at MIT discovers a category theory that meets the demand for provably integrating data from the explosion caused by the internet and the Internet of Things. That's what we're going to talk about in powering what's in AI. So now I need the power. I need the power back up. I need to get the power. All right. This guy. All right, we'll do this. So this guy is Herb Simon. Herb Simon won a Nobel Prize in the early 1980s. He's one of the foundational spirits of artificial intelligence. But he won his Nobel Prize in economics. Economics. This is why the future is not like the past, because he was an AI pioneer, Nobel in economics. This guy won the Nobel Prize just a couple of weeks ago when these were announced. This is Jeffrey Hinton. He was both of these guys were actually at one of the schools I studied at. And Jeffrey Hinton was an AI pioneer. Anybody here, Jeff Hinton? Jeffrey Hinton? Anybody know this guy? No? All right. He's famous where I am. Nobel Prize in physics. He's a computer scientist, but a Nobel Prize in physics. And then this guy, Demis Hassabis. This guy is one of the founders of Google DeepMind, computer scientist, AI pioneer, won his PhD in chemistry. So we're establishing computer science as being this sort of master science above all other science. And it's not that everybody needs to study computer science. The argument I'm making here in civil engineering, or mechanical engineering, or whether you're studying literature, the skill that's embedded in making your expertise readable by machines is the expertise in the future. It's a master skill. Yeah. That's a privacy screen on it, which is difficult to see. Yeah. So we have a body of work in mathematics. And I want to talk about the past and the future. We'll bring up this map as soon as we get power. So the map we have is a map of space, of geometry and trigonometry. How many people in the room study trigonometry, geometry? Yeah. Calculus? Right. These are all interesting, but I'm going to argue that to some extent, this is the mathematics of the 20th century. To some extent, maybe even the math of the 19th century. It's useful, but it's going to continue to diminish in value. They're a little bit like Latin. So Latin continues to exist. Latin continues to exist as a language, but we're not interacting in Latin today. And we're interacting less and less in some other languages. So this is the difference. This is sort of the mathematics of the past. But the mathematics of the future, statistics, probability, and the mathematics of category theory. This is the mathematics of the future. So we might say, more math the better, which is true. But if I were to choose, I might diminish the value of geometry, trigonometry, and even calculus, and increase your time spent in probability statistics and category theory. That's the mathematics of the future. The other math is useful because it's a mathematics of continuity, but math for a digital age of abruptness, of change. It's a fundamentally different math that we have. We'll get the documents up here in a second. This is going to be a little more difficult. We have a very technology stacks and technology. Talk about this. So imagine a stack of technology for artificial intelligence. This is where you're going to compete. At the base layer is semiconductors. Semiconductors, you think of NVIDIA, everybody's heard of NVIDIA. That's not where I think Uganda is going to want to compete. That takes billions, if not trillions of dollars. The next layer is large language models, like OpenAI's ChatGPT. Everybody uses this. That takes tens if not hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't think that's where Uganda wants to compete. We got semiconductors, we got large language models, generative, probabilistic generative AI, and at the top level, we have applications of artificial intelligence. That's where I think Uganda can compete. The benefit of this layer is that you're competing globally. And you don't actually really have any disadvantages competing. Meaning that not only can you catch up, but you might actually establish leadership at this layer. Applications of artificial intelligence. Applications, I mean, you're experimenting with where artificial intelligence technologies can work in mining, can work in agriculture, can work in energy, can work in healthcare. You are not going to be replaced by AI. You're going to be replaced by a human using AI. Do you want to become expert in applications of AI? And more broadly, I think that's an opportunity for leadership for Uganda and for Ugandans. So I'll give you a little bit of history about how we get to applications of AI, kind of the whole life cycle of AI. As soon as we get power, you'll see this fancy picture from before we were all born of an aircraft carrier listing at a scary angle, an angle that aircraft carriers are not supposed to be listing by. And why this picture exists is because back in World War II, the United States Navy sent a whole aircraft carrier fleet into a typhoon in the Pacific Ocean. Not a good move. Not a good idea. And the reason that happened was because, believe it or not, this is kind of a weird thing. We couldn't predict the weather back then. With military equipment, but we couldn't predict the weather. That's weird, right? So after that, here you can bring this up yourself later. I'm sure you've seen this before. Maps of hurricanes, maps of typhoons. This was then a massive effort to then include sensor data, detecting wind and wind changes. Then we used computers to process that data that's collected. And now we have conclusions that now allow us to predict weather. So you see maps, whatever geography, and you see maps of flows of typhoons and of hurricanes. So the outcome is, we don't build aircraft carriers that can withstand hurricanes and typhoons anymore, any better than we did 80 years ago. But what we do, we just don't send a carrier group into a typhoon. We don't send an aircraft carrier into a typhoon. It's as easy as that. This is an example of an application of technology and how we get there. We start with sensors. We have computers that process the sensor data, and then we act on that data. This is a whole life cycle of AI. All right. So now we want to get into what you all think of as AI. So I want you to think in your mind. We'll put put you on the spot by calling everybody, but you can yell out how you would define artificial intelligence, or what you think of when you think of artificial intelligence. What comes to mind? What is AI? What is AI? ChatGPT is AI. Terrific. Thank you. Thank you for going first. That's a good answer. What else is AI? What else is AI? Just throw it out.
How do you find
Using machine learning to solve the world problems. So AI is using machine learning to solve the world problems. Terrific. Great. What else? Everybody has a concept. Computers thinking, the ability to release information like humans. That's our Sure, thank you.
we have another microphone.
Ability to create machines that mimic human understanding and ability. Terrific, thank you. Other definitions of AI. How do you conceptualize AI? All right, you raised your hand back there. I know you're, yeah, go ahead. AI, what is AI? You're going to have to speak up if you're in the back.
Yes. Human-made thinking.
Human-led thinking. Sorry, go ahead. Sure. Thank you for that. I think everybody heard it, so I'm not gonna repeat it. No? Okay. Anybody else? Any other? Yeah. Simulation of human intelligence. Sure. All right. You're gonna give two opinions. I know that. Okay. Sorry. Internet. Works with the Internet of Things. Internet of all things. Sure. Thank you. Okay. Learning from existing trends. You guys are doing a good job representing the front row. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, so that's opinions on AI. Yeah, one more.
Yeah, I would say that AI is a simulation of human intelligence. The program to think and learn.
It's a simulation of human intelligence. Is that what you say? That can think and learn? Did I get that? Simulation of human intelligence. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. No wrong answers. I'm going to present. Actually, I would say this just to see any more ideas. Anybody just think it's automation? No wrong answers. Or just augmentation? Some people say it's automation, and some people just say it's augmentation. Or it's quote unquote just statistics. Have you heard of that definition of artificial intelligence? Or the last definition is it's just optimization. Have you ever heard of that? So I'll present a different context. I'm back on the laptop. I'm going to say this is a framework for thinking about AI, which is AI is sensing, planning, and acting. Sensing, planning, and acting. Sensing, planning, and acting. This is just a framework for you to think about AI. There's no right definition and wrong definition. It's thinking, sensing, planning, and acting. So if we are an autonomous car driving down the street, the sensors are on the top of the car that is collecting information from various sensors, and then it comes into whether it's an edge compute on the car or whether it's some central repository of technology, And then and so we're going to see a crosswalk up ahead, and we're going to see shadow from the sensors. And then it's going to determine whether or not the car should slow, it should stop, it should keep going, or it should, have a driver intervene. So that's a sensing, planning, and acting. That's an example of a whole system of artificial intelligence. Sensing, planning, and acting. And I just offer that as a framework for you to think about what AI is. So then I want to talk about how the world is different than projected. So remember, the whole conversation is that the future doesn't necessarily look like the past. We're going to talk about opportunities for Ugandan leadership, not only in East Africa, but in the whole continent. So in the past, we had thought of AI just as being narrow applications, like just as algorithms. But in the future, it's really a system of sensing, planning, and acting. All of you, in everyday experience in your studies, can be thinking of the applications with AI in the totality of the systems in which your studies and your jobs exist. That's what a future jobs lie for you, is in thinking of the totality of that system, sensing, planning, and acting, and thinking about how to apply AI in various parts of the system. That's a value to the companies that you start and the companies that you join. The other one is really a big assumption, and this may be really funny coming from someone that works for the U.S. government in the White House, is that say the past assumed U.S. leadership, or maybe a U.S.-China duopoly in AI leadership. And I'm here to tell you, from my experience working in the White House, is that the future is a multipolar world. The degree to which you all are going to establish leadership for yourself, for your family, on behalf of the country, it's available to you and it's all up to you. Because we're competing globally now in a multipolar world for regulation, for privacy, that it's all out in the open. And the issue is we used to think this was just algorithmically limited. Whoever discovered the algorithms would win. And then we thought, well, then it's just about data, and it's about a data race, than it is the United States and China. But I'm here to tell you that the value is in bringing that data together. It's in making that data available. So you know there's a lot of data in the world, but not all that data is available. It's kind of like if you're on your phone and you lose your cellular connection. I, for a time, can be lost, depending on what I'm doing. Data is available, and it's not available, I guess, in a way. That's what I mean by having data available and not available. How that expresses itself in our world is a little bit different when you get into making data available. And making data available as an integration has been historically limited also from mathematics. It's been limited from this domain called relational theory, and that's reached a limit. So today in the world we have 4.5 billion people using data collected globally. And we have 2.5 quintillion bytes of data, and 90% of it is unstructured and heterogeneous, meaning it's not all just in one Excel spreadsheet. And so the ubiquity of all of our phones and all these other sort of digital devices is requiring an upgrade to our IT infrastructure. So the result is this sort of what I call a data event horizon, which is we can only see so far because there's only so much data that we can see. There's only so much data that is visible. So we have this increasing aperture of data collected in the world, that kind of this decreasing view through which we can see all that data being collected. That's a data event horizon, I call it.
I don't have the word with videography.
Another big
leo
shift, so we started this
vinahitajika
talk by talking about
ameingia into
mathematics.
mbadamba
Another big
pale
shift
katika aina kunulia kama kuna
is
panels
around how we conceptualize this idea of an equal sign. So everybody interacted with math like saying 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? It'd be kind of weird for me to tell you that we're getting away from an equal sign. But this is a conceptualization. This is important. This is a conceptualization for all of your futures, which is you want to be thinking about both what is strictly equal and then what is equivalent for the purposes of collaboration. So we might say, well, I definitely want to be home by 5 p.m. Right? I definitely want to be home. That's like an equal sign, hard number. But we might say, well, it's equivalent if I have an easy day, I'm kind of relaxed, and I'm home by 6. We might say that's kind of equivalent. Or we might say to our friends, look, I'll have this type of food, or I'll have that sort of food. They're not exactly equal, but that's say, they're okay. Or there's dinner with my family, dinner with my friends, or this is a conceptualization of equivalence, but not a hard equal sign. We want to be thinking about that because we now have a mathematics that can represent that. It's a sort of meta-mathematics that allows us to express these preferences. So again, this is just a concept about how to think about AI and where this is going, is it's not just about machine learning. So in the past, we have homogeneous and uniform data, we have disorganized and unrelated data, and we have data that's slow to change. And in the future, we're going to have heterogeneous data, model-based data, and it's going to be more dynamic. Here's a real-world example. So, if we're building an airplane, we have a lot of parts, but we have millions of parts. But we might just fundamentally say we have an engine, we have a fuselage, and we have a wing. We're going to attach the engine to the wing, and then the wing to the fuselage. This is a real-world example. But all of this data and the models that you all are imagining about avionics, about how to design these complex machines. These complex machines can be oil wells, they could be used in mining, they could be in national defense, whatever, or they could be in supply chain and logistics, they could be building a bridge. And we're just doing one, for example, for an airplane. But what you're going to do is you're going to experience the tolerances for vibration, say, in the engine, and you've got to see how that's going to interact with the vibration tolerances for the wing, and how that will interact with vibration tolerances for the fuselage. What AI can provide is an assurance that the vibration tolerances as you compose the engine, the wing, the fuselage are respected with integrity. Because no one's going to raise their hand if I say, who wants to fly on an airplane designed by ChatGPT? That's the limitation of probabilistic artificial intelligence. And that is forever. Forever. That will never, ever reach the level of integrity that will allow you to trust an airplane. You have to combine it with this other type of symbolic generative artificial intelligence. So the discovery in math is what is powering this new world. This discovery in math called category theory, where in the present we have AI and we have data and we have privacy, but they don't intersect. In a Venn diagram of intersection, they don't intersect. But what we have in the future, we have this concept in category theory, which is this domain of math which powers a type of generative AI, a deterministic generative AI, that allows you to integrate all of this knowledge. The integration of this knowledge is going to power what ultimately will be the sine qua non of artificial intelligence, which is collaboration between all of them. So when I talk about the stack, I talk about the delivery packs of semiconductors, and then large language models, and then applications of AI. That's a technology stack for artificial intelligence. I'll then start to talk about the delivery of artificial intelligence. The delivery of artificial intelligence starts with your data center, then has your web services, and then at the top has analytics. And there's a little layer in the middle called data integration. And it's making all your data available. And there is no AI without this integrated artificial intelligence, this integrated data. And all of you need to be familiar with this concept of making sure your data is integrated and integrated with assurance. Because if only once we're integrating our data with assurance, with guaranteed integrity that we can bet our lives on, will we actually trust AI and embrace AI? So what I'll leave you with, for the being different than the present, or not necessarily being different than the past, we're not living in what the past is that the degree to which AI can live up to some fear-mongering dystopia that fits a Hollywood narrative, or whether AI can fulfill on this promise of a utopia where we are saving millions of lives, whether it's in healthcare or efficiency and food security, or in other ways that can just improve the quality of our life. It's all up to you. It's up to us, but it's really up to you. You all can be creating this future about having the future looking different than the past. So anyway, with that, I'll thank you. I'll end these talks, and then I guess we're going to have a Q&A.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Daimler. Please, let's give Dr. Daimler a big round of applause. This is just the beginning of this conversation. So I hope you will take it in your classes and discuss some more. Now we have the opportunity for questions and answers. If you have questions for Dr. Daimler, he's ready to answer them. Can someone please take the mic in case, for people who have questions?
Yes, there is another mic which was
Vera, who will take the mic?
Oh, here. Yes. Oh.
So questions, comments.
The last question. How do I use AI? Don't use AI. Don't you have any question?
First of all, thank you, Dr. Eric, for the amazing presentation. We really appreciate it. Very useful. Let's give a round of applause to you guys. My question is, how do you speak? The first question is, in the world of AI, having ChatGPT, of course, it helps us a lot as students, doing our assignments, doing a lot of things that are academic related. But then, does it make us numb, not think critically, as things are being laid to us on our plate? As they say that when someone is given truth, he doesn't also work hard for it because he knows that the truth is ready on his way. So does it, on the same line, does it not make the student so numb to think critically? The second question is, Also, in the world of AI, you find that there's mimicking of persons, be it audio or visual. Like there could be a video done for someone talking, but actually, in actual sense, he's not the one doing that. The talking but then the mimicking. Don't you think that this is a threat to individual freedom and right as people invade the public, private spaces? And if it's threatening, at how level is it threatening? Thank you.
Great. So I'll take the questions in order. The first question is really important. The answer is yes. It will make us lazy unless we are mindful about when and where we use this. So I'm sure all of you use social media, and you probably also notice that your brain is a little worse for it. I mean, I notice when I can use social media, a half hour can go by. Hopefully not more. And I think, where did the time go? There is a certain quality to social media, which is a little bit like I think of eating potato chips. They are designed to eat a sack of potato chips. They're designed. These are chemicals that are designed with our physiology to make sure we continue to consume them. The same with social media. And we have to be mindful because it's really easy to fall into a trap, and it really is a trap. We will fall into a trap of just using these tools and turning off our brain. And the danger is that if you are just repeating what a GPT generates, you have ceased to be of any value. What value are you providing in that interaction? Right? I can do a lot more today than I used to be able to do 2 years ago in generating an email or proofreading what I'm creating or summarizing an article. Some stuff I may not have hired people to do for me necessarily in the past. But in other places, if I want to write an article, I can't have a ChatGPT to it because somebody else can just do it. Write an article about AI. That'd be something you don't want to read. It'd be uninteresting. I have to say something different. So each of you have to study your particular expertise in such a way that you are expressing human qualities. You're bringing human qualities to that expertise. And here's the continuum of your life. Here's how it's going to go. You are going to develop an expertise. You are going to augment that with machines. You are going to systematize that interaction so that your expertise with automation then becomes itself something that can be automated. And then you have to learn new expertise. You got to hear this. Your expertise has a shorter half-life than that of your parents. You have to be really comfortable with developing expertise that is going to become obsolete, and then developing new expertise. That's your career. That's what it's going to look like. And no one can protect you from that. Not the government, not your family, not the school. The school is here to teach you how to develop new expertise. That's what you're going to have to be. So the earlier you get that discipline, the better off you will be in establishing leadership for yourself and for the country. The more valuable you'll be in the world. On the second point, these are experiments. We all need to experiment about where our human values find their best expressions and what we do and do not want in the world. We have these conversations daily about where we want genetic research to be. We're going to have the same conversations as a global society, how we want automation to take root, where we want automation to exist, where we want automation to not to exist. What we can say about this is, just get on the question more generally. This is important. Whenever we think about jobs, setting aside privacy, we do not automate jobs that we want. We automate jobs that we don't want. That's the evolution of these jobs. So I hope that answers the question. I have to talk more.
last question is, let me see.
It's on. Just be loud.
So I'll repeat the question. Sure, we got it. The first question is what roles can governments play in the regulation of AI? And the second is what can we do as Ugandans to compete globally? Yeah? Okay. So the role that governments, I advocate that governments collaborate. And this is what I did in the White House, is we work with our allies globally to develop a framework for the future of AI, what that would look like. What I did was speak humbly on behalf of the president on where we would allocate resources, because the needs need to be respected between, you can just imagine, healthcare to energy, transportation to Veterans Affairs. Like, these are very different applications of artificial intelligence. The needs of those, the needs of policy, the role of policy in those different applications varies, and that needs to be respected. We need to be working at global about what regulations just make sense in this. I have opinions on this. I live in San Francisco, California, and California recently proposed this piece of legislation that would have affected the world. Thankfully, it got rejected, but we can't work in isolation. California should not be working as a state developing AI regulation. I hope that Uganda doesn't try to do that either. I hope that we work together globally to enact whatever regulation society feels is appropriate. There's a rich talk about rich regulation and how it should be expressed. On the second point about how Uganda can compete, I think you all, with your large language model wars, if you guys are leading the charge on being one of these teams, one of these groups that compares large language models and their efficacy to different standards. And then what we're doing is we're having not humans like present a card like you're in the gymnastics and Olympic, but you got a 7, you got an 8. But instead apply a large language model to judge the large language model. So everybody caught that. What better way to judge an AI than another AI? And that's the leadership we see exemplified here. I think when we think about the dynamics for the country, the entirety of the economy works on a flow of information, lives and dies on a flow of information. That flow of information is impaired in many, many ways. One of those is the integration of different databases. Databases that are stored in Amazon, or Oracle, or Alibaba Cloud, and integrating those is an impairment on the availability of information. Everybody here, enjoys a higher standard of living than in the past from increases in productivity. How you get increases in productivity is through automation. So what you want to be doing is you want to be increasing the level of automation to increasing our level of productivity, and you want to be smoothing out that flow of data and the information streams through which we all live or die, through which the economy lives and dies, the companies live or die, and to some extent our careers as individuals. So the degree to which the government, the region, the continent, facilitates the flow of information, the better off we will all be. And the more we all embrace, we're not just going to catch up, because I really want to emphasize this, the opportunities for all of you not just to catch up to other areas of the world, the opportunity, consistent with what you guys are working on, the opportunity is to leapfrog this legacy infrastructure that burdens Europe, East Asia, and America, and join as equals or even leaders in in certain applications of AI. The country's not big enough to be leaders in everything, it doesn't have that background, but there's applications of AI through which you can be leaders. And the extent to which we can open up that flow of information and continue to encourage that with the embrace of this is the extent to which Uganda can emerge as a leader in the region and in
I have two partners who have two questions. So thank you so much for coming and giving us some chances to get about AI. My first question would be about three things. I reviewed one of the lectures and you talked about parts of AI. There's stochastic, symbolic, and social part of AI. And it got me thinking about different applications, how you can apply AI. For example, where you can use AI in structural analysis or AI in farming technology. So I was wondering if all of these three parts, is there at points in different disciplines whereby one is more important than the other, or are they all equally important in every discipline that humankind uses? And my second part was at the end when you said that people have certain myths and fears about AI. And I agree with you that AI doesn't have any biases. Human beings are biased. But I think the fear comes with human beings' tendency to use innovation and technology towards, for example, in the 19th century, 20th century, when we used transistors in World War II, and they used the bomb. Even now, we're using AI to make UAVs and manipulate elections. So, my question is, are there laws or policies, like international or national policies, whereby we can regulate how we use AI in the benefit of mankind so that it cannot be manipulated or cannot be used for malicious things?
First of all, thank you for being a good student. You clearly did your homework in advance at this time, so I very much appreciate that. That's for your benefit to research what background you have. I'll give a little bit more for everybody else about the skepticism of the social. There is a different. There is a. Let me say. ChatGPT is a probabilistic inductive AI. Probabilistic inductive. So we all learned about logic. We have induction and deduction. We go from a general to a specific, and from a specific to a general. Right? We can say all birds have wings. This animal has wings, therefore it's a bird. Or the other way around is all swans are white. And until we see a black swan, it gets freaked out. That's an induction. You need both. Really, when you care about the integrity of the result. You need induction and deduction. ChatGPT is always induction, so we can always be surprised by the result. You can decrease the probability of error, but you'll always have a chance of error. All of us, most of us, have gotten comfortable with flying on airplanes because the safety of airplanes has increased during our parents' lifetimes and our lifetimes, such that it's pretty safe. But accidents still happen on airplanes. You can decrease that. But there's other places where really errors can't afford to exist. Some power plants, for example, a little more scary. Disease vectors, a little more scary. National events, a little more scary. And so it depends on the context. If you're just doing digital advertising, I don't care if there's errors. I'll see if I want to serve up another ad. But if I'm managing any of these mission-critical items, then I care. So an example, we work with an oil company where we're designing wells for drills. If you don't design that well correctly, literally, these things can explode. And we were at an oil company where our meeting was delayed by a couple of hours because a manager had to go service this accident that blew away 2 workers' hands. This literally happens. And that happens because right now, humans are designing these oil wells without the assistance of AI. In that particular case, again, I use a symbolic deterministic AI. In the same hands, you say you wouldn't want an airplane designed by ChatGPT. You don't want it designed by ChatGPT either. It's a bad idea. So it depends on the context about which you want probabilistic or deterministic. But really, in most cases, it needs to be a union of those two. The point you also brought up is, so there's the stochastic is alliteration. Stochastic, symbolic, and social. The stochastic is probabilistic, of course, it's the same. The deterministic is synonym for symbolic. So we go probabilistic, deterministic. Probabilistic means something may happen, deterministic means it will happen. And then social. That's all of you. So this is the cycle. The cycle is you all are going to learn from the ChatGPT, then you're going to interpret that with your own expertise, whether it's in geology or civil engineering or farming, and then you're going to input that into the deterministic AI. It then goes back into the probabilistic AI. That's the cycle of AI. This is where you all are going to play. And the extent to which you can be under this cycle will be the extent to which you can thrive in your career. If you don't do this, and you just absolve your responsibility and become the hollow vessel for the AIs to talk to other than you about it. And so, in your second question, so this is a whole other study. So in one of the schools I went to, we have a department called human-computer interaction. So it's an area of research, it's active research. So an example I gave, we started this whole time. I think I'm on a vehicle back in San Francisco. That's one of the common parts. Those cars never act. That's because they're only operating in boundaries of the county and city centers. Other areas, other domains that yes.
Ito mic? Okay.
But my dishwasher connects to the internet. I don't think of my dishwasher having a personality. I have robots that sensing, planning, and acting. So even though it's not mobile, it's still a robot in a sense. Same with my refrigerator. I have a few vacuum cleaners around my home in San Francisco, and these vacuum cleaners roam the house and constantly cleaning the floor. They will continue to map the floor. They will continue to map my house. They have sensors on them. They get them better at mapping my house to get faster and avoiding the pets. But they're not suddenly going to learn Uganda. No matter how many times I have vacuumed the house, they're not going to. And they're not going to have their own. I can maybe say they have their own personality, but they're dumber than my cats.
I've had about AI being able to, for example, there's AI music nowadays. been plenty of AI instruments. There's one that was Spotify had to remove because of copyright.
Any other question?
The question is in what I've said. Like AI, there's an AI having negative sides, basically, like, isn't it dangerous or something like that? That's the whole point of, it's like another new world order.
Well, okay, so on that point, AIs can be very dangerous, but they can be very dangerous in the way that we're already experiencing them. They can be caustic to our brains, giving us a sort of dopamine hit that causes us to ask for another dopamine hit. It's a type of drug addiction. In the same way potato chips are. It's not maybe not as bad as smoking, but maybe it is worse actually, because it's making us intellectually worse. We are less capable if we're fed, if we give into AI algorithms. That actually made me another point. Is somebody asked about where we would apply regulation. I advocate for us requiring social media to not give us algorithmic feeds. I would love to see feeds from all of you manually in any number of social media, but I don't want to see an algorithm feeding me whatever it thinks is just going to keep me on the next feed. That's a part of AI algorithms. This can be very dangerous in the way we're already seeing. If it encourages fake information, and if it somehow impairs our ability to feel and interact with people. The degree of intelligence that's imbued there, and so it's not intelligent, but it simulates intelligence. And sometimes the simulation of intelligence doesn't have a meaningful difference. If it's sufficiently smart, then we're sufficiently tired.
Because one point I was asking because I recall the AI robots that I would really celebrate, for instance.
That's dangerous, sure, but I don't think it's existential. Thanks for the question.
I just want to have one question. It's about the future. I know in technology, things come and go. Most of the time we see that we have problems, the business, super smart. So I wanted to ask about the AI. I know it just came in because I said maybe 4 years ago. And it is spreading. So I just wanted to know the vision. How far? Let's look at when like where we like it, okay,
Sorry, what's the question?
the future of AI in 50 years.
The future of AI. So I'll tell you the future of AI. So right now, people, and I'll try to keep these answers a little shorter because I can see there's other questions. We want to get to lunch. The future of AI. Everybody knows, or I assume everybody knows, that the pejorative way of talking about ChatGPT is that it's a sort of autocomplete, that it predicts the next word, that it's a sort of 800-word autocomplete, and so it's predicting what's next, right? Everybody got that? Okay. The future, this is the future. I can't say whether it's going to happen in 3 years, 5 years, or 10. Probably not 10. Definitely not 2. The future that we all are working on is the next stage is we're going to predict the response. So we're not just going to predict the next 800 words, and I'm going to send it to Ferris. I'm going to predict what Ferris says in response to my 800 words. I'm going to have it write me a book, and then I'm going to be able to predict with that same degree of confidence what the response is from the book that I just wrote. That's the next step of AI. That's one. 2, you see it happening a little by little. For everybody that drives, we are experienced with automatic braking systems. This is how autonomy comes into our world, little by little by little. The technology contains automatic braking systems and traction control, stability control in cars. That's a type of autonomy. This is an increasing ubiquity of automated machines around us. What I can say in the medium term, is we're going to have a ubiquity of robots around us. in various capacities, working on the factory floor with us, working in the office with us, and they will be collaborative. So we're going to have ubiquitous, collaborative robotics. So we're going to predict the future back to us, and ubiquitous, collaborative robotics. That's the future of AI, the internal. Yeah. I see.
My question is related
Go ahead.
My question is related to keys, but it's a bit more specific. I was wondering, what do you think is going to be the impact for AI in the near future on software development? Do you think it will eliminate the need for software developers, or at least to a certain extent reduce their demand of something? How is it going to affect software developers?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I was talking about we had thought that job might go away. What we're seeing in practice is that we are producing more code. We are producing more computer code. The computer scientists and programmers are just becoming more productive. That's consistent with the thesis that we started this talk with, which is you're going to be not replaced with a machine, you're going to be replaced with a person using a machine. That's the future. That's the trend for programming. This is important for all of you to know, though. Everybody needs to begin to think about their own expertise becoming a little bit more specific. Gone are the days where you're going to get paid for waving your hands, saying, you know what I mean, you know what I mean. You can't be doing that anymore. Everybody needs to have their stuff be a little bit more like lawyers. You know how lawyers get trained to be very specific about what they're talking about? And then lawyers need to become a little bit more like engineers. And engineers need to discipline themselves to become even a little bit more like machines. Because ultimately the trend is towards making your expertise as machine readable as possible, as quickly as possible. Anybody want to hazard a guess? I promise that a short question, but this is going to go on a little bit. Anybody want to hazard a guess about what one of the largest, fastest growing jobs are at Amazon? Anybody, any guesses? Fastest growing job, not the biggest number of job openings at Amazon. Any guesses? No? Okay. This job pays over $250,000 US a year. Anybody interested?
Yeah. 150,000 USD.
The job is an ontologist. Ontologists. It's somebody that can translate the meaning of things into a computer. You can look this up. It's $250,000 a year. There's many jobs available with Amazon right now. You're not a computer programmer for this. You're not a civil engineer for this. And you're not a lawyer for this. But you could be all of those things. But you have an expertise in taking knowledge and translating that into machines. Uganda is full of ontologies. You could have ontologies in healthcare. You have ontologies in law. You could have certainly ontologies in African history that need to be translated into machines. And the degree to which you can do that, the facility you have doing that, pays very, very well. And this is a job. This is a job of the future that is being created with AI. Yes. Yeah. You may have to just be on until we get a microphone to you. Yeah.
I'm just grateful because you have just talked about the exact point I would like to raise right now. It's all about the different tools available in AI. And you agree with me that we have certain tools in AI that are really trying to get into them. But unfortunately, as African people, especially us as students here, we all agree that in order to get access to some of those tools, they are just too costly, like they are really expensive. The only opportunity that we put up with those tools is just to try it. We just give us the opportunity of trying them, but after a certain time, after like 2 or 3 weeks, they now started billing you, which is fine. But when it comes to now that side of maintenance, don't you think that instead of us being permanently banned from access from those tools, have you ever thought like, okay, let's just at least reduce the price in order to an African, instead of you guys being banned? There's some access, there's some tools in AI that as African people, based on the location where you are, you can't get access to them. And we are totally, for that reason, we are totally banned from using them. Do you think that instead of us being banned completely, just reduce the price so that we also have access to them? That's why most of content creators, right, they're just focusing on direct shooting. They just make skill direction. And instead of using some AI to because they can't get access to them because maybe they're too expensive, or maybe based on the education where you can't get access to them. So,
Yeah.
as AI thought of including those tools, or if not including them directly, just giving us based on the data that you can afford all of us, and using them to start making money.
I think it's a very good question. It's a constant struggle about how to price anything, based on one's geography. It's a struggle for our company about how we price things. We have the opportunity, given how we are developing our software, to be offering something for free and then to split the savings. But not all tools have that ability. You can imagine with the tools you're talking about, it kind of wouldn't make sense. What I can offer is a degree of optimism that it used to be worse. It's now much better. These tools, some of the tools that were required for skilled jobs in the future would cost thousands of dollars US. It really burdens. Where now many of the tools that provide power can be $20 or $30 US. And, it's not nothing, but it can add up over the course of the year and stacks tools and so forth. But it's better than it used to be. I can just offer the encouragement that also there's a rich set of open source tools. And there's quite a few people that learn quite a bit, a lot of learning resources and a lot of tools that use those learning. There's a lot of technology tools facilitated by the learning tools that are free. And I think there's plenty of those. Is I guess my best answer to that. Yeah. I think we had a question in the front row. Yeah. Yeah. You have a question?
My question was related to health, but I wanted to ask about the threat of jobs. You said you have vacuum cleaners moving around your house. So how is an AI going to threaten manual labor?
Yes. But automation is always threatened manual labor. But it's not about low cost or high cost. It's about productivity. If this country, if Uganda could become embracing AI and embracing the increases in productivity, Uganda establishes leadership in a new phase of job creation. If you want to preserve jobs, that's a prescription to keep Uganda behind, to keep Uganda down. The opportunity in a globally competitive environment is for you to leapfrog and participate in the creation of new jobs. My point about, that I've emphasized yesterday when we were talking, is my point about productivity versus just labor costs goes like this. If the world's capital, the world's money, gravitates to the places in the world that are most productive, where the capital is put to best use. If we were just concerned with the preservation of jobs and the cheapness of labor, then Bangladesh would be the economic capital of the world. And it's not. And it never will be. It never will be as long as that's the emphasis. So we need to embrace automation. It's what's going to happen globally. For good or for bad. It creates new jobs. And you question, go ahead.
Yeah. So they have what they call AI hallucination, where AI may call things based on what the user wants to do. Should we be afraid that those who are being decision outside the scope of the data that they were trained on, because they are trained to predict the next action that they are supposed to do. Based on the data that they give to you, and to lay on that data and sometimes make room for move. But what if in the case that that AI happen to that group happen to hallucinate, like making this outside of this truth?
I don't know if I can.
Currently with language model conversation AI, right? It hallucinates where you give you one answer based on what they feel that you want to hear. Right? But what if you happen to place or generate AI instead of humans to make a common decision? should we be afraid that those people will take decisions that?
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. So should we put a generative AI inside of a robot? And the answer is no. It's that symbolic, social, and deterministic AI. So stochastic, deterministic, and social AI. You need that whole cycle. You need the probabilistic and deterministic AIs to be in more mission-critical environments where you need assurance. So we work, again, in the energy sector, we were planning for the ubiquity of robots to be working alongside humans. You can't avoid to have errors because the safety considerations for these machines moving close to humans is real. So in those cases, you can't just have a ChatGPT. You can't just have a probabilistic AI in those environments.
We have one more question, and then we'll hand over to her to close the session. So,
good afternoon.
Oh, Hassan.
Yes, welcome, Dr. Eric. My question is specifically focused on IUEA. You know, IUEA has been aiming, not really trying, okay, to position itself as the leader in technology and AI as well across the continent. What strategies